Sierra Vista Baptist Church, this is Matt Statler, and I'm here with Holly Melton from CRU. Holly, would you introduce yourself to us?
Sure. My name is Holly Melton, and I have been on staff with CRU, formerly known as Campus Crusade for Christ, for the past 22 years. My husband, Matt Melton, is also on staff, but he is under the weather today. So he is upstairs sleeping. So I will be doing our interview. So I'll kind of explain a little of our ministry for both of us today.
That's awesome. Sorry to hear about him being sick. I hope it's not COVID related.
No, it's not. He, about 4 years ago, had a different viral called CMV. Don't ask me what it stands for, something really big. And it just makes him very lethargic and tired. It's not depression. It's not burnout. He's just needing to rest and get that virus out of him. But none of the symptoms have anything to do with COVID. So we feel safe being around him right now.
Well, good, good. So tell me about some exciting things happening with you and your ministry and CRU in general.
Sure. Sure. Well, I want to start with Matt because Matt is kind of the unsung hero in our family because he does web design for the entire campus ministry. And as you know, with COVID, people are online more now than ever. And so with him, what he has been doing is working almost nonstop, not a workaholic, having good boundaries, but definitely there's piles of different websites within our ministry that are asking him to work on them to make them more user friendly and helpful. This is for our students to learn about God, those that are seeking God and trying to learn more about how to have a relationship with him. It's also to train our students how to start their own ministries, how to engage with people in a virtual environment, new ways of doing evangelism and discipleship. It's a way to train staff and church members how to reach out and reach out to their community. So I honestly often say, even though I'm a face of a lot of ministry, I'm a speaker, teacher, writer, he is the one that's probably reaching thousands more with the gospel and training people because of his gifting of being a web designer. And so he one of his greatest prayer requests is that we would have more people join staff to do web design. Normally, people that do web design get paid well, and with CRU, as you know, we're missionaries. We raise support from churches just like you that have faithfully supported us for 22 years. And so it is hard to find people with those skills as his to do ministry, missionary work, and raise support to do it for more laborers like him to join ministry. So that's Matt. For me, it's been very different with COVID. Normally, I've done many different roles within CRU. I've started in campus ministry, was leading a team. Then I went overseas. I lived in China for 2 years, came back. I was a national director with CRU for about 8 years until my son was born. We have 2 kids, Carter and Briella, 7 and almost 6. And when he was born, I knew I couldn't travel as much. So since then, I've had different roles within CRU based on my capacity as a mom with children. But the blessing with COVID is God said, okay, you're not going to be able to go speak and teach and train. So you need to write. Now, writing's not as fun for me as speaking, but God has blessed this season of getting to write various books. One of the ones that came out last August was Praying with Your Kids Before School. So it had nothing to do with college ministry, but I got to be on Family Life Radio. I got to see God use this book in thousands of people's lives, and parents are learning how to disciple their children. So that's been a highlight. And then the second thing is I started partnering with YouVersion, the Bible app, which maybe some of the older people may not use, but younger people have really gotten into using this Bible app as part of a way to have daily devotions. And one of the topics I'm passionate about teaching on is the will of God, because so many young people want to know, what is God's will for my life? So not only have I created a Bible study on that, but now a devotional series that's on YouVersion called Live in God's Will. And I just have been so thankful with the limited time I have. I wake up at 5 a.m. I have time with the Lord. 6 to 7 a.m. is writing time. And that's all I have. 1 hour. And God is writing these devotionals, and I'm getting to influence people online. And so that's been something that I've enjoyed seeing God use my little time and multiplying it for his glory. So that's our current situation as I'm writing more. I am teaching and training people in becoming multiplying disciples, young adults as well as women within my church, because that's something we are passionate about as well. And I think people are wondering, how do I disciple in a time of COVID? You can do it on Zoom. I've been discipling people around our country online. And so just encouraging people to think differently about evangelism and discipleship has been very exciting and fun to engage with people on. So that's a little update about what we've been focusing on, especially in this time of COVID.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Zoom is really a blessing in this time of technology. So that's been really good. Tell us a little bit about what universities or what colleges that you guys have been influencing in your area. And what does that look like? What does a regular day pre-COVID look like? Because we kind of got a picture of your COVID day. What was it like before COVID with the colleges and universities?
Yeah, so I'm on the Phoenix Valley team, which means we are trying to reach every college campus in the Phoenix area. And so obviously the greatest one is ASU, but I actually live in Sun City. So I'm about 45 minutes from ASU. So I'm trying to reach community colleges here in the area. Glendale Community College, it's one of the largest community colleges out here, very liberal. And so last year we were starting to create a movement there. And here's just a fun story of what God had done. As I started to meet students, I noticed many of them have a heart to actually want to share the gospel, but they don't have a heart for holiness. It's a huge disconnect with young people. They actually love God and want to share him with others, but it's very hard for them to pursue purity and holiness in their lives, which discredits them from the gospel. And so ironically, I met a gentleman who was in a divorce, who had such a heart for the Lord, but he had had an affair with another woman. And this woman had such a heart for the Lord. She wanted to be in ministry, but they had had an affair and she was already divorced. And I just thought, Lord, I don't know how to help lead them. They were in sin. One's divorcing, one's already divorced, but they want to be in ministry. Well, as we started to disciple them, I got pastors from my church to help disciple the men. I and another woman started discipling these women. Ended up that man got remarried to his wife that he had divorced. And that woman got remarried to her husband that she had divorced. And they are both growing in their faith and becoming disciple makers all within this 1 year. And so that was just a beautiful story of God's reconciliation and restoration. When we take somebody that says, I want to be a part of this ministry, I want to share my faith. Oh, but I have no clue how to pursue holiness, and having to slow down on the strategies and the movement building to help them grow in their walk with the Lord. And then see, now we have two couples growing in their healthiness to be able to now impact the campus. And so that's just a great God story of what he had done. But, the reality is there were a lot of surprises. Was wanting to teach Bible study. And he didn't come to a meeting once. And he called me, he said, Holly, I didn't come last night because I ended up at a hotel sleeping with various men. And I was on meth. And I thought I was going to lose my life. And I thought, whoa, I didn't even know this, that it was just like baffled me. And he said, I just feel this how I want to teach the Bible, and yet I'm living this altar life. And so one thing we're seeing with young people is they have this heart. They want to follow Jesus, and yet they are so already stuck in habitual sin or exploring the world that we just have to really have these conversations, these really deep conversations about what the Bible says, what's biblical worldview, right? Not just a cultural worldview. So that is what we're dealing with. It's just not as easy anymore of even finding Christians on campus, training them up, and then starting a movement. It's like Christians on campus and then helping them figure out how to actually be a Christian first.
Right.
So it's just totally different than 20 years ago when I started doing ministry on a college campus. But that is our current reality.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty tough. It's it seems to be more and more regular that's the story, right? Where we're Christians in name only, or we're Christians without holiness. And it kind of sounds like an oxymoron in many ways. And man, so we'll be praying for you for that. What what do you see in the next year? Some projects you're working on, some areas that you want us to be praying for you, or supporting you or partnering with you? What would it look like? What does your next year look like? I guess is a better way to say that.
Yes. Well, we're definitely at a place where until the kids go back to school, I'm spending a lot of time helping them online. And that is just our current reality. And so, what I can do is be committed to writing. That's what I know. So, I'm currently writing a 40-day devotional called Inside Out. 40 days to transform your heart. And what I've been doing is studying over 1,000 verses in the Bible on the heart and putting them into categories and finding a way for us to really figure out if our hearts are really so deceitful, let's figure out what's deceiving us to get a healthy heart. And so that's what I'm going to be working on probably through March, and then get that into an actual Bible study form for the body of Christ, for college students, for adults, for anybody. Secondly, I am now teaching young adults. I have 15 young adults. I've been teaching about discipleship. I'm now going to coach them and lead another class where they bring in 2 disciples each. So they'll be multiplying themselves and having those 15 disciple 30 other people. So that's my next step, because I really have limited time to even leave the house to teach and train. So my job is to be taking 15 students and have them multiply into 30 more lives up through the summer. And then we are hoping that August is a new story and I could be leading in new ways. We are praying about that and what that looks like. I will actually this summer be having my first sabbatical in 22 years. I never took a sabbatical because I just always like to see what the next thing the Lord is. And so really I'm going to be seeking the Lord on once I'm able to get back in full time, once my kids are in school, what's the best way for him to use me for his kingdom. But really my heart is training in evangelism, training in discipleship. And I would be happy to ever come visit your church and do a training if you ever wanted on either of those topics, if that would be helpful for the body of Christ at your church. So.
Yeah, no, we would definitely love that. Our women's ministry has really kicked off pretty significantly this year. And so we are definitely looking for ways to do that. So we definitely need to talk about that. All right. So let's do our silly round where I ask you just some random things about you so we can better know you. What is your favorite non-Bible book?
My favorite non-Bible book. That is hard. I'm not a person that reads a book more than once.
Okay.
So I read a lot, but I'll tell you my favorite one I'm reading right now because I can't speak more highly of it. It's by Bruce Wilkinson and it's called Prayers of Blessing Over My Marriage. And I had decided this year that I was going to pray every morning, 30 to 40 minutes for my marriage. And already on day 21, we have seen so much growth in both of our lives just by committing. And he just brilliantly helps me figure out how to pray more specifically for my marriage. So I would encourage young and old to read through that book. So I'll just say, since that's the current one I'm reading and would highly recommend, that is one to share. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Well, since my childhood, my favorite movie's been Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay,
Love
that's
it.
good.
It's so fun. So yeah, I would say that I would just still hold tight to that one when my kids want to watch a movie. I'm like, you want to watch that one? So that's my fun one from my childhood.
All right. Favorite food?
Oh, definitely probably anything Asian, maybe because I lived in China, but anything from poke to sushi, which is not Chinese, but to authentic Chinese food. Absolutely love that. And every opportunity to get something authentic in any foreign culture, I really love and enjoy. When I was in China, people say, what's the strangest thing you ate? I actually ate scorpion when I was in China.
Yeah.
So probably wouldn't do that again. But
I must say you could do that here, or you could just cook some up.
Yeah, right here in Phoenix. Yeah, pull them out from my backyard.
Oh man. Well, Holly, it's been real good getting to know you a little bit better, and I look forward to meeting Matt sometime and just kind of getting to pick his brain about the tech world side of ministry, and it's fascinating how the world has changed and how the internet, the web page is kind of like the new front door to the church. It's the new front door to a lot of our ministries. And just it's interesting to see how we need to adapt in our ministry practices, not in our faith itself, but in the way we present it and the way we communicate. So, wow, what a wonderful time. Is there any last words you want to share with Sierra Vista Baptist Church before we end this recording?
I would just say thank you so much for being faithfully a part of our ministry. You have never wavered in supporting me monthly, no matter the size of the church, no matter the pastor that's been a part of the church. It's been amazing, your faithfulness and loyalty. And I really believe God's going to bless this church for your heart for missions. It's incredible. And that is where I started my heart for missions under Kevin Redding, Gary Redding's son. And it was there I learned evangelism explosion and got my first training on evangelism. And now, I mean, I've been to 30 countries, I've been a national director, and I'm teaching others about evangelism. And so it really started at your church. And so even though the church might be small and it is growing, know that you have raised up people that have a heart to change the world, and your finances are making eternal impact. And so just thank you so much for investing